For more on this, I'm joined from Bern by Cornelia Meyer, economist and founder of Meyer Resources. Cornelia, as always, it's brilliant to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me and taking your time to speak to us today. Cornelia, so I've just read out there, China's economy has slowed more sharply than expected. Yet we see exports actually remaining pretty resilient. So is this a temporary soft patch, or is it a sign of deeper weakness in the economy?
Well, good evening, Leanne, and thank you very much for having me. I think it is a sign of structural issues in the economy. The Chinese economy does have still a big problem in its real estate sector. Chinese government wants the Chinese economy to be retooled somewhat away from purely export-led to also domestic consumption, and just doesn't get there. They had deflationary pressures, so actually the inflationary pressures through the Strait of Hormuz woes can be accommodated quite happily because they counter the deflationary pressures, but it is a sign of structural imbalances.
So we're seeing structural weakness in the Chinese economy, but China's oil imports fell to their lowest level in nearly a decade in June. And of course, this comes amid the Iran war and the issues we've seen in the Strait of Hormuz. How significant is that for global oil markets and also prices?
It's extremely significant. And, you know, I started calling Japan the swing consumer, right? We had the swing producer, Saudi Arabia. We now have a swing consumer. When oil markets were not doing too well, when the oil price was very low last year, China really bought up a lot of the surplus oil and put it in storage. So some people say they had at some stage 200, they now have about 250 or even more days worth of inventories. So they bought it all up. And now, because they have the inventories and because oil prices, frankly, are very high, they are importing less. Actually, they're importing in April 41% less April to April, or in June, June to June, and it's about 12% less May to June. So they're importing less. The refinery runs are slower. They still produce petrochemicals and so on. So it is the swing consumer. Once oil prices go down again, I'm sure they will be buying again because they need to refill their inventories.
I like that. Swing consumer. You've definitely coined a new phrase there. But Cornelia, what's quite fascinating to me is China appears to be weathering the oil price shock better than many people actually expected. And they say a lot of this is actually down to the rapid uptake of electric vehicles in China. Do you think that this is changing the country's long-term energy security?
No, I actually would disagree with you there, because electric vehicles, that is about electricity. And electricity comes from gas, from coal, from nuclear, very little from oil. So oil, and Chinese oil has more and more gone sort of into the petrochemical side. Yes, obviously they use much less oil to drive vehicles. But what we've seen before, let's say this time last year, we've seen, yes, electric vehicles went up, but they started to prefer hybrids, because with the electric vehicles, even if they tell you, you know, you have so and so many hours and this big a range, the second you then put in heating and cooling and all of these other things, lights at night, the range goes down.
And Beijing, Cornelia, is pushing back against US-backed sanctions targeting buyers of Russian energy. How much of this is about economics, and how much of it is about China's relationship with Russia?
It's about both. And it's about economics, because for China, actually, it's been very convenient to buy Russian oil at a discount, because Russian oil has been sanctioned, so they could get it at a discount. Before, at some stage in this conflict, the US waived sanctions against Iranian oil. That meant the price went up. So China is quite happy to buy sanctioned oil because they can buy it at a discount. That's the economic side. The other side is, China sees itself as a member of the global South, and is in alliance with Russia, with Iran, with Pakistan, and other countries under the auspices of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. They're also BRICS countries together, right? Russia is a BRIC country, China is a BRIC country. So there are those avenue of diplomacy that they have that are different to the Western attitude.
Cornelia Meyer, it's always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you very much indeed, Leanne.
Pleasure.